And can I remind you all to turn on your microphones, please?
Yes, we do.
Yes, ma'am.
They're on.
All right.
Do you want to call us back from recess?
Are you on recess?
Yeah, we
Started the meeting. Okay, good.
we are called back into session, and with the grace of the powers that be, the president is here to continue this meeting.
And where did the meeting end before we
We're
recessed?
on the pledge now.
Oh, we haven't done the Pledge of Allegiance yet.
No, we
Okay.
didn't want you to miss that.
For all those who wish to participate, we will stand.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Looking for the script that you sent me. Get that list.
So we are at roll call.
Okay. Note that all trustees, including student trustee Kenny Abeshi, are present this afternoon. And I apologize for being late. You can blame it on Dr. Gatelli, although he's a very good dentist. He said this almost never happens. I've heard that before. Are there any members of the public who wish to make a comment tonight? Okay. So then, we will move on. I've asked Dr. Ralston to start off this organizational meeting that serves as preparation for the 2020 board business and includes the election of officers. I turn to you.
Thank you very much, President Miller. So what we'll be doing tonight is working with Robert's Rules, and I'll be calling for nominations from the floor. And then once we have concluded the nominations, we'll do a roll call vote where we'll be voting in the affirmative for the position of presiding officer for the president of the board. Any questions about how we'll be proceeding? Great. Are there nominations for the role of the president of the Board of Trustees for 2020? Trustee Croninger?
I am nominating Peter Hasland
Great,
for
thank you.
president. I would like to comment on why.
Okay.
Okay. I come to this thinking about what I feel is most important for the college at this time in this place. And I think Peter is our best choice as college board president because of his experience, his style, and his approach to the job. And Peter, I don't want you to blush any of the times that I'm talking here.
I'm not blushing.
I know, I know. Okay, I just want to be sure that you don't.
I just want to be able to disagree with you.
But that's always a good thing. So, at this time and place, the known important event for us next year is Dr. Goswami arriving. And I feel that it's very important that we as a board and everyone else in the college help him settle in and settle in for the long term. For me, that means that someone with extensive experience at the college is important to help him get to know the college, understand its strengths, its weaknesses, its place in taking care of our students, what we are trying to accomplish, are the currents and the undercurrents, and the many important people, meeting the people who work here at the college, meeting the people in the community, meeting the people at the foundation, who are also very important in our universe here. So Peter is uniquely qualified in all those areas, in my view. He's 40 years a professor at the college, past president of the Academic Senate. Next year will be his 10th year on the board. He keeps in touch with many of the community leaders throughout our district, not just in Carpinteria. And he has been a long-term supporter of the foundation and contributor to the foundation, as well as the board's representative to the foundation for several years. So in those three areas, I think Peter has the depth of experience that is unique to any of us. Realtors say there are three things when you buy property that are important: location, location, and location. I am basically saying experience, experience, and experience. Two more reasons. Peter's style is a good fit. He has the ability to diffuse a contentious issue from time to time with a well-thought turn of phrase. And he has shown that he is absolutely able to control a difficult meeting. Teachers just know how to do that. And Peter has been a teacher, as we know. The third reason, his approach to the job, I think, is well thought through. He believes, and has told me many times, and he demonstrates, that all trustees on this board are equal. We all have an equal say. And he approaches the job in many ways more like a facilitator, bringing things to the board for decision, asking other trustees their views before talking about his own. And sometimes he doesn't even say what he thinks at all, which I think is him cleverly making the meeting shorter. But that's how he handles it. I think that is a unifying thing for a board, and that we can all learn from that. I've seen him in action in difficult situations. He was president 9 years ago, and that was a difficult time. He kept the board moving forward throughout that period. And that was a real accomplishment as we went through that particular set of things. So these are the reasons that I feel Peter is best suited, and I absolutely respect Robert and Robert's qualifications. He's taken us through a difficult year this past year, and I really respect and appreciate your enthusiasm, Robert, for being a trustee, for being a president, and for being an advocate for the college. But I also think that a one-year time period is a good time to pass the job on to another trustee. And in this circumstance, which I just described with Dr. Goswami coming, I think Peter is our best choice. So there we go.
Thank you, Trustee Croninger. So the nomination for Peter Hasland. Are there additional nominations from the floor? Trustee Hasland.
I would like to nominate Robert. This is not that I disagree with all of the nice things you said about me. Who could? Although I am glad that you clarified that I'm not a location. That was encouraging. But in Robert, we have somebody who's had a full year of on-the-job training. And I am convinced that he would do a splendid job for his second year. So with that, it is this is not about personalities. It's not, my ego is not invested in this in any shape. And I don't think Robert's is either. So when we vote, I think what we're doing is voting our conscience and what is in the best interest of the college. And in my view, that would be to select Robert for a second year.
Thank you, Trustee Hasland. So the second nomination is for Robert Miller. Are there additional nominations from the floor? Trustee Nielsen?
Yeah, can we, well, I would just repeat one of the other nominations. So
So we can go ahead and close nominations
Yeah.
and roll call vote.
I would like, I have a question of trustee Hasland. Is it permissive, is now a time for, when I can ask him a question?
As good as any.
Sure.
Good as any. It's a very short question. Are you declining to serve as president?
No, I don't
Okay.
think any of us really has a right, unless there's a
It's a
really
lot of work.
huge reason
Everybody
why we
has it.
shouldn't take on this responsibility. I don't think we should say no, but yeah, I'm really okay with not being elected. Please understand that.
Great.
What do we say? We all have to take a turn. I said we all have to take a turn and give our life to City College for
You know,
24 hours a
I've already
day,
had
7 days a
turn,
week.
You know, and I fully understand that. And frankly, I have more fun as a non-president. You can get yourself into so much more difficulty and speaking your mind. The role of president of the board is to run the meeting, to make sure that everybody else has a turn, not necessarily to give your own point of view. And so it's, if you don't succeed at this, you're going to enjoy this.
Great. Well, thank you. Angie, could you do a roll call
Sure.
vote for us? Remembering that we're putting forward the person for whom you would like to have serve in the role.
Student trustee Becci.
Robert Urbina, trustee Robert.
Okay. Trustee Parker.
Hasland?
Trustee Abud.
Miller.
Trustee Gallardo.
Trustee Haslam?
Trustee Croninger.
Trustee Haslam?
Trustee Nielsen.
Trying to make up my mind, sorry.
Okay.
Trustee Miller.
Trustee Haslam.
Trustee Miller.
Trustee Miller.
Miller.
So trustee Miller. 4-3.
Thank you.
Congratulations, President Miller. I'd like to hand the meeting back over to you if you're feeling up to it.
Thank the board for their support. I'm honored to have the opportunity to serve again. The last year has obviously been at first trial by fire, but since then, a more measured opportunity to continue to learn the nuances and weaknesses and strengths of Santa Barbara City College, and to work with two different presidents during that time. And I look forward to working with yet another president and committing myself to doing what I can to work towards a board that's unified towards doing what we need to do to exercise fiscal responsibility, to maintain our good facilities and expand our good facilities, and many other areas. So thank you for the opportunity to serve again. I would now open nominations for vice president and ask if there are any nominations. Trustee Abud.
I'd like to nominate Trustee Parker.
Trustee Nielsen, do you have a nomination to make?
Yes, I would nominate Peter Hasland.
And I was also going to do the same thing, and if it's, I'd just like to comment that Peter has been an excellent partner with me during the past year, participating frequently with discussions about what the agenda will be and difficult issues. And of course, I rely upon him heavily for advice. And for all the reasons that Trustee Croninger explained, I think he is of tremendous value to me in helping me serve as vice president during the next year while we begin to work with a new president. So any
Yeah,
other?
I would just like to accentuate what Trustee Croninger said about Peter. I really think that the the asset of his experience all around, and his past performance is pretty critical to the mission that we have facing us this next year in establishing a new president, hitting the ground with, running. And he needs someone in a position that's right there with you, so that we can, create the connectivity and get it together a little quicker and easier. I think it's really important for the new president to, to be able to take, easy advantage of Mr. Hasland. So.
Any other comments? Trustee Booth.
I want to speak in favor of Kate to say that, in the past year alone that she's been on the board, she's brought us so much wealth of knowledge and information about how another board has operated, and I really value her 12 years of experience at the SBUSD and coming here to, share that with us. And it's been, at many meetings she's, brought up different procedures and policies just for us to keep in mind that have helped correct discussion that might have been going not a great direction. And just simply, it's important to have diversity in the board leadership, and especially when our superintendent is also male. And we want to get into a rotating system. And so I think we don't get there if we select the same two board leadership 2 years in a row. And so I think that point is well taken, that we need to get into a regular system for how we get our president and vice president. I think selecting Trustee Parker as a vice president just gets us into a rhythm to get there.
I'd just like to add that I agree with your comments, although I think under the circumstances, I'm going to vote for Peter, but I think that Trustee Parker's been a tremendous addition to this board, and she certainly has kept me going in the right direction from time to time when it comes to procedure, and I think we all value her experience on the Santa Barbara Unified. I'm having a hard time talking, but with the school district in Santa Barbara, and I think Trustee Parker, you've been a tremendous asset, and so my support for Peter in no way expresses any negativity with respect to with your service. Any other comments?
Do you want to do it again, Peter? Do you want to serve in that capacity again?
Do I want to serve?
In that capacity
I
again?
would agree to serve, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you need support, Robert, and if you feel like you're going to have that triad with Dr. Goswami and Peter and yourself, then that's important. This college is so important, and the year that I, supported Dr. Beebe in that capacity was so much work. But such an honor, and I don't think, at least I didn't wake up one day and say, oh, I'm going to be a trustee, and I certainly didn't wake up one day and said, oh, I'm going to be board chair. And so just thinking of all the things that we have to get accomplished this year, my life is so good right now. I don't have any meetings, I don't do anything, but in my care for this college and my husband and my family, that I thought, oh my gosh, yes, I would do another crazy year of whatever the college needed, because it's so important. And we are entering a season where there's so much guided pathways and our facilities that I think that if you too feel that you're going to have that continuity, then I want to support you guys, because I think that the relationship and the trust, the collegiality, the camaraderie you would be able to have is going to be important. So I wouldn't want to disturb that if you felt that that's going to keep you in sync with what we're going to need this year. And yeah.
Are you done? Any other comments? Trustee Croninger.
So, having praised Peter's skills here, which I deeply believe to be the case, I also support what Jonathan was saying about the balance. I think Kate brings a balance that is important in her perspective, in her connections to the community, to the K-12s, and that we do well to move these positions through the trustees and among the trustees rather than sitting still. And I know that may seem odd, but I had no intention of doing it for 2 years and really was only by virtue of being really pushed to do that at the time. So I think what I am thinking is that I want to fall back on the idea that all of us are going to be responsible here for helping Dr. Goswami settle in and be with us for the long term, and that it will be a good thing for each of us to have a part of that process. So that's where I come out. I support the idea of moving it around and change.
I also, if I could add, just, if you really want to talk about then diversity, we have diversity of thought on this board. And it often is like 4-3, like at the camera, by not default, but like, left to right when the audience looks at us. That whole flag thing was a disaster last year with the community. I want us to get to a point where the community can look at us and say, yeah, you can leave your personal agenda aside and just do what's best for the mission of the college. And I know that for some of us, this job is so much more political than for all of us, and that's okay. And I think that that's the admirable thing, too, of how involved we are. But I think that I don't know, I think I'd have to have more conversations with you, Kate, about what, I don't think I've gotten to know you much. I'm a parent in the community, and I know that the way the community members have been affected by some of the agendas at Santa Barbara Unified and the initiatives that are there. And I know you served on that board. So I think I would have to know more about what it is you're looking for at Santa Barbara City College versus some of the agendas that were pushed on Santa Barbara Unified. And I don't know that that's like a public thing that we could have. And I think that's just more of us with time getting to know what the commitment is for Santa Barbara City College as a standing mission as a nonpartisan agenda there. And so I guess this is the only time I can say that because your nomination is there. And if it was that point in terms of really bringing and bridging our community together to see all points of views, then I'd be happy to be your vice president, Robert, because I don't want us, the community to look at us as, oh, that's them, they think that way, or oh, that's them. It's like, no, we have a diversity of thought on this board because we serve the whole community. And we come to the table with the mission in mind, regardless of what we think. I mean, and I can say this now because we're talking about this. I mean, just the whole, every time we do the pledge, for those of you that wish, it is already a free choice. And if we could just let that verbiage go, we would stop upsetting so much of the community that keeps reminding them of that February 14th meeting. That alone. And I just think that just, it's like a wound that keeps, like, opening up where people then continue to see as, gosh, these people still think different. That issue was settled, but it's not settled if we start the pledge every single time with, if those who wish, it's a free country, we can do as we please. And so again, there's so much at stake here for our community, and now me as a mother, because my children have been here for 3 years now. Didn't think about that one. So I don't know, I'd like to get an opportunity to respond, Kate, because you're a colleague here with me.
Right, and I appreciate that. I just want to be clear that obviously we each have individual opinions, views, and different votes on matters. When it comes to organization and running a board meeting, my view is that the board president and the board vice president, when the president is not there, really is just a reflection of the board itself. And so to me, board presidents shouldn't be changing agendas without full board input, and any tweaks to it, any changes in order, any changes from the routine need to have the board voice. And I don't put that burden fully on the board president. I think it's also our responsibility as members to speak up as you have just spoken up. We need to all have that opportunity to do that, so that especially when we're talking about running a meeting, it is a meeting run by consensus and not by directive of the board president, if that makes sense. So that, I hope, answers that level of question. I'm sure you have others, and we should go to lunch, but that's my view when it comes to running meetings.
Trustee Nielsen?
Yes. I guess I have a question. Did you nominate yourself for the vice president position? It's a yes or no question, I'm sorry.
You know what, at this point, I want our community to feel like, you know what, that they can see that they feel that they have a voice through all of us, and that it's not just, we know that those folks are associated with that group, and we already know how they think, and I just don't know how to get there. And if it means what you said, that you want diversity on the board, or, whatever it is, then if we really want diversity of thought, then you know what, yes, I would do this with you, Peter, or Robert. I don't like reading press about City College, that we are left or that we're going right. Like, we're going forward. We're going center forward. We are for that mission. And so to me, it's not about who's running for what office on what, or what Democratic pictures showing up on Newshawk, or to me, it's like we should be going forward. Which side are you on, Veronica? The one going forward for City College, for the mission, for all the initiatives we have. And there's a lot at stake for us. We're going to need a bond. We're going to need to get community support for a lot of different things. But that's not to say that that's not what you're willing to do, But I see it. I've gone to Santa Barbara Unified School meetings, and I've seen the folks sitting on the right, folks sitting over here, and I've introduced people from this side and that side to this side, and they give me the look like, oh my gosh, you're talking to that person? Yeah, I'm Mexican, a first-generation Latina girl, and yeah, I talked to someone that is a Christian over 50 and conservative, and we're actually really good friends, and some of them are my mentors. And then I also talked to my neighbor across the street who's leading the charge and doesn't want to see gentrification. And I just feel like, when did we get to the point where everybody has to be same, and you can't think different, and if you shake someone's hand that looks different from you, you're like shocked that you're surrounded by that. And that's what I feel, that we have such an opportunity, because we are so connected to the community, that we can offer that to people. And so, yes and no. I guess I'm just sharing I may only have one more year on this board, maybe not. I don't know what I'm going to do next year, but this college is so important to me and to my family and to my children and my students and their parents. And it's really a truly comprehensive mission. And yeah, I want good press in 2020 from City College. That's what I want to see. And I don't know what that's going to get, what would give the community the feeling that we are serving them center forward, not just right or left.
So to answer Trustee Nielsen's question, are you nominating yourself for vice president?
Which you can do, by the way.
Yes, I can.
You absolutely can.
Yes, we absolutely can. Yes.
Okay. Any other nominations? If not, we would ask that we call the roll.
Okay. Student trustee Igbechi?
Trustee Parker.
Trustee Haslam?
Okay, I'll vote for myself, reluctantly.
Trustee Nielsen?
Trustee Hasland.
Trustee Gallardo?
Trustee Haslam.
Trustee Parker?
Trustee Parker.
Trustee Miller?
Trustee Hasland.
Trustee Aboud?
Trustee Parker.
Trustee Croninger?
Trustee Gallardo.
Trustee Haslam?
What was the vote count I lost?
Haslam, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 3 for wait. 1, 2, 3, 4 for Haslam, 2 for Parker, and 1 for Gallardo.
Okay, you've been selected as Vice President, Trustee Haslam.
A quick word,
If I-
please. We had kind of a tradition going on here, you know, with this board by changing the president every year. And I really feel like last year was kind of an anomaly. And then we threw somebody pretty green right into the middle of it. You know, that was tough on anybody. I think he's come a long way, and he's been doing a good job, and he put in a lot of time, a lot of effort. Not that the rest of us didn't work as well, but I really think right now it's working. And to continue what we have in place for a little bit longer, to me, is an advantage. I think it's a big advantage. And I also appreciated what Trustee Aboud said about diversity. But I think the right people are in the right chairs at the moment. That doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. And we have had multiple female presidents and vice presidents, and we will have again, I'm certain. And this is my last year on the board, and I'd sure like it to count. I'd like it to go forward and keep going and keep us talking to each other. Doesn't mean we have to agree, but we did discuss one point, and then I'll be quiet after one more point. At our retreat, we talked about getting to know each other and getting along, and we need to, all of us, remember to do that and to get to know our fellow trustees to the point where we can really effectively communicate. And I think it's, and understand each other. I think it's really important that we make, you know, significant inroads to continue that improvement. So thank you for your interest and willing to serve.
Thank you, Craig.
Trustee Nielsen, thank you for your comments. I think they're well taken by all. I personally appreciate your comments, and I think getting to know each other is important. I think I certainly know all the rest of you a heck of a lot better than I did a year ago, and knowing your fellow trustees makes a huge difference in being able to work with your trustees, even when you don't agree. So I think your comments were very important. Did I see your hand raised? Trustee Haslam?
Yeah. I think this was a unique election, and what is this? This is, you said number 10? I don't think we've spent this much time talking about our vision and about each other and about why one person as opposed to another. I think this is really healthy. I think it's one of the finest discussions we've had about the organization of this board. The second point I want to reiterate is that even though Robert is the chair, he gets one vote. He gets one vote. And each of us needs to assert the fact that we also have one vote. The fact that we are able to have conversations that sometimes really disagree, I think that's healthy, that's in the public interest, that we can walk away from the table and still be friends. That's critical. That's critical, not just to our future working together, but for the rest of the world that, for want of nothing better to do, actually watches the result of our meetings and comes to conclusions about who we are and why we exist. I think it's important that they get the right message. Yes, we are very individual, and yes, we care deeply about the college and its mission and what it does to and for the next generation of students. That's why we're here. That's the only reason why we're here. And I think our discussions seem to lead to that, at least for me, that's the takeaway conclusion, that we are all here for the same purpose.
I really think you're spot on with that. I think that by cooperating, it doesn't necessarily make our job easier, but it actually facilitates doing a better job. And what really matters is not how happy we are serving on the board or not. What really matters is the results. Did we serve the institution? Did we serve those people that we affect? Did we do our jobs as a board? And when we vote, even if we disagree, it's the board that decided, then that was the decision. So then that's the road. The path changes. And then but we still, even if we lose or disagree, we need to go with the majority and work to clarify and keep moving forward. I think it's really important to know each other well enough so that we communicate with a limited amount of emotion. Thank you. Okay.
Craig chokes up and I reach for the bottle of water.
Well, I was really impressed tonight because I don't think I remember in my 7+ years here, Marcia Quillinger making a speech that long. So maybe we could hoist one to Marcia, because that was well said.
Well, I think each of us has so much to offer here, and that's why we're here for, as Veronica said, the mission of the college. We have different views. Peter and I don't mind disagreeing. I don't think any of us mind disagreeing. We're interested in the good conversation, and that was my thought process in this most recent selection, was how do we get the most interesting conversation going as we work together.
You achieved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you all. Move on to agenda item 3.2, which is, as I understand it, simply to set a date for the next organizational meeting we have. And December 17, 2020 has been selected for that date, so we won't get in trouble. Not that we got in trouble this year, we just, we didn't know soon enough and had to call this special meeting, but this item calls for setting a date of December 17, 2020.
I move that we set December 17, 2020 as the next organizational meeting time.
Is there a second? Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes.
Boy, that was close.
That was a tough one. Agenda item 3.3 is an item to establish our meeting schedule. Yes, our meeting schedule for 2020, with one addition or one correction or change to the what's on the agenda. Instead of January 9th, January 23 has been suggested as a more appropriate date. So I note this schedule includes regular meetings and study sessions. I know there's some discussions about, well, maybe we need more study sessions. Maybe we need them at a different time, but we can always make changes to our schedule. But I personally think this is a good schedule, and I personally like the once-a-month regular meeting. I know there's not necessarily a unanimity of opinion on that, but I think it works much better for us, and I think it works much better for the administration. Having said all that, is there a motion to adopt the schedule listed under item 3.3 with the change to January 23?
So move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion. Trustee Croninger.
Yeah, I had sent Pamela some questions about the schedule that I just kind of wanted to run through. I think the change to January 23rd is helpful because we will see the governor's budget shortly before that, and we would not have seen it until February otherwise. Or we would not have talked about it, we'll certainly have seen it, but it's my understanding April 9th is currently scheduled to be the board's decision on the SERP, except we're still negotiating with faculty.
Yes, that's correct.
So we might or might not need a separate meeting for that.
Right, and we should know that relatively shortly in January, so I think that determination will be early.
Okay.
So we're working for that memorandum.
So I wanted to match that up so that we don't have a timing problem.
That's our goal, too.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand, Trustee Croninger, you're saying we may need a separate meeting for the SERP, is that?
If the negotiations with faculty produce a different date for decision,
Okay.
that was my understanding
Yeah.
from
Right, and
Dr.
we're
Ralston.
working on a memorandum of understanding as we work with the Faculty Association on their component part of the SERP, and our intention is to try to sync all of those things up. It's just that we're not yet final on that determination, so that's a question that's outstanding.
Yeah, certainly it would be good for the same date, from our point of view.
Our point of view, too.
And then I wanted to confirm that on May 14th, the board will see the full budget, all revenue, expenditure, construction fund, equipment fund, all of those things. That's really the complete budget before we get to the first reading, because that's the best time to discuss the budget for us.
And I confirmed with Vice President Moss that that would be, in fact, how we intended this calendar when we developed and proposed it, and that should all sync up appropriately as well.
Okay?
Okay.
Good. And then hearkening back to Robert's mention, I think we had agreed to run with this grouping maybe into March. I remember Peter making that suggestion, and then reevaluating. I, for one, am not particularly happy with board meetings that regularly run to 10 p.m., and I think we get tired and not as good at our job. And I also am concerned that in August, we said we'll go to one a month because that will be better. And then since then, we've had 8 special meetings, and only 2 of those were previously anticipated. So it really plays havoc with one's planning when we have to do that.
Certainly understood.
So
Okay.
hopefully that was an aberration.
Any other comments?
So our study session, we had talked about, I think, our retreat. Our study session's going to be then a longer study session, like maybe during the day type of thing?
I don't recall any decision-making in that regard. I think the idea was they would be same time and place, but we can do them differently.
Do you just recall that? Because I think that might address a concern. When Dr. Benjamin talked to us about the whole one meeting a month, and I think was it Peter McDougall or John Romo had said, or maybe one other former trustee that's still in the community, that this works if your study session is more of like that quarterly retreat where you're hashing out some of these big things.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
I think that I'm okay with this schedule if that's going to be the case, where you're looking at these big things like the guided pathways and some of these big initiatives that we have.
And I think I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm saying, but if that was my recollection, if somebody else remembers differently, then,
We'd also do well to kind of revisit our list of things for study session. What are the topics that we're expecting? I mean, I know just last meeting, we talked about discussing the strategic plan and mission in that, and that adds another topic. So it does speak to a longer session.
And I think for a number of these issues that with Dr. Goswami coming on in a couple of weeks, it's important that we have these discussions with him as well, and he'll have ideas or suggestions for how we might proceed. And by the way, I would add another reason for January 23 rather than the 9th is that it will give Dr. Goswami more time to be on the ground before he has to go to his first board meeting. Otherwise, he would have been here just a couple days. And, so I think it works better for that reason as well. Any other comment?
so,
Trustee,
Well, I just want to warn us that sometimes we schedule out in the distance a study session, which tends to get gobbled up as a regular session.
Yes.
Because it's easier just because we got the date, and so instead of having a longer meeting, we just shortchange the study session. I'd like us to commit to study sessions and to actually have issues that we want to study as a priority for that meeting. Now, if there isn't such an issue, and I have difficulty imagining that there isn't, then okay, we could use it as a second meeting for the month. But we've gotten out of the habit of actually using a study session as a time to dig deeply and really comprehend what it is that we're supposed to be voting on.
I agree with that. When I joined the board and was trying to understand, we have regular meetings, we have study sessions. I didn't frankly see a lot of difference between the study sessions and the regular meeting, except that we met in a different room. So I think it is important for study sessions that we focus on a topic or two.
There's history to that, and the history was that we inevitably would have issues at the end of a study session that we'd like to vote for, and we sort of turned those over until the next meeting when the trail was cold, but nevertheless, the Brown Act requires that we agendize each item, so we couldn't, and therefore we sort of truncated the study.
That's understandable. Any other comments?
Yeah, so the only issue I saw was with the July 9th meeting, and so the superintendent performance evaluation needs to be completed by July 31st. And so if we don't have a second meeting in July, you're really cutting it close with that big process, and it's a lengthy one, as you know. Well, did we do one? No, we didn't, because Anthony retired. So it requires some planning. And I think if we don't have scheduled a second meeting in July, I don't know if we could do the college's business on July 9th and then do what we have to do for the president by July 31st without calling special meetings.
There's two steps to it. I mean, there's the evaluation process, and usually we had tacked that on to the extent that we could to a regular meeting, but there were more of those. So there's, several steps to the evaluation. And then we had to bring, if there was a contract, that came in July, ideally, or even June. So, yeah, I mean, a May 14th only meeting that month, you're probably going to be special meeting then to accommodate the evaluation process.
Which is
Right.
tricky in July with vacations. So that's the only thing for Angie, if she would be so gracious to
Well,
still be with us.
In the past, you only had one meeting in July, so we must have worked around it some way.
We
I
called
think we did
special.
it in May and June. We
Yeah,
tried to
well,
do
you
it in
could
May
al-
and
You
June.
could call a special meeting, it'd be a closed session, because it's going to
Yeah.
be for the president's evaluation.
So that's what we've done, but do we just want to chance it then and not plan your Europe trip?
I think I'm willing to risk it, because I believe we're committed to having regular sessions with Dr. Goswami each month. And it would be agendized in private, in closed session as an evaluation. And so by the time we get to July, I
We'll be
think
fine.
we will have moved a long way toward sharing our perceptions of him
Okay.
by that time.
I'll give you my address in Italy and I'll Skype in.
Trustee Parker?
I'll move approval of the establishment of the dates for the 2019-20, for the 2020 calendar year, with the change from January to the second meeting time. Was it the 23rd?
The 23rd.
So January 23rd.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Moving on to item 3.4. This is something we're required to do every year. That's appointment of our representative to the Santa Barbara City College Foundation. And Trustee Abood is served in that capacity honorably in the past. And so I would ask, I guess, Trustee Booth whether he wants to continue to serve or whether there's anybody else who has an interest in serving.
I would be interested in one more year with the foundation. There's a lot going on with the promise discussions that I'd like to still be a part of.
Trustee Parker.
I'll move approval of the appointment, the reappointment of Trustee Abud to the City College Foundation Board.
Is there a second?
I'd like to nominate Trustee Gallardo because I think, again, the idea of switching up so more people have that interaction with the foundation is a good thing. I mean, I appreciate it that Jonathan's been doing it for 2 years now, and typically we have switched it up at least that often, I think.
Okay.
Well,
I mean, I appreciate that you're doing it, Jonathan. It's the principle of moving it around so we all get to know the foundation and participate.
Trustee Parker.
Sure, I'm willing to withdraw my motion if you want to make that into a motion.
Or we can do it just as we elect
And then I will
officers.
second that.
It's all good? No?
Okay.
And we are all welcome at your meetings,
Okay.
right, Jeff? You are all welcome to another meeting every month. Well, how did it go? I mean, were you able to attend most of them, or how did you
This
feel
year,
the rhythm
actually,
was?
I think I got to every single one except one.
All but one, yeah, we had 6 meetings through the year.
Yeah.
We will probably move to a more frequent meeting schedule in 2020, just for what that's worth.
So,
And actually, I can't make the retreat on March 1st, and so I'll say Veronica should do it.
But you felt like it was a good rhythm and
It was excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an excellent group to be a part of.
well, it sounds like we have one motion withdrawn, another motion made for Trustee Gallardo to be the representative to
And I
the...
seconded that motion.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
More discussion. Okay.
I'm sorry. Trustee Nelson?
Yeah, so there's one motion on the floor right now?
Yes. Yes. I'm
For
sorry.
Trustee Gerardo.
Yes.
I have
Is it a
no
motion or a
issue.
nomination?
Did you just call me Trustee Geraldo? Ever?
Either way.
I've never heard you say that.
I know.
I'm gonna give you one.
Veronica, be nice.
I think, yes.
I'm going to muddy the waters and say that's one thing that I haven't done, and I think I might enjoy that. I know I would enjoy doing that. I'm planning on this upcoming year being my last year, and I would like to do that. But, it's up to you guys. And I have been doing another job that's taken almost no effort at all because they're not doing anything organization-wise. I did that last year, and I don't remember if the year before or not, but it hasn't required anything.
Is there any-
I thought this would be fun. So I throw my name in the hat for that.
Okay. I'm wondering if there's any reason why we couldn't have 2 representatives to the
I think his
foundation.
table would get too big.
Their table would get to...
Would you like me to respond?
Yes.
So for our bylaws, the trustees have one ex officio seat that you have the right to appoint. So that being said, as far as a governing board member, you have one.
Okay.
But the door is open for additional visitors at any time, with the exception of a closed session meeting, which we have relatively few of.
And I just want to note the waving from the booth behind because Mr. Green is not mic'd. So,
Who's not mic'd? You're not mic'd?
I'm not like,
Yeah.
Oh.
okay.
You should go explain.
Yeah.
Jeff projects so well that I do not
sorry, I was using my theater voice, I
expect
apologize.
you.
So to answer the question, so per the foundation bylaws and our MOU, there are 6 ex officio seats, so the trustees have one formal governing board seat. So in our system, it's a true ex officio director, meaning it's a full governing director with a full vote. So there's one seat for that purpose, but the caveat to that is, as was mentioned, that visitors are always welcome, and any trustee member would always be welcome to join us for a meeting, with the exception of if there were a closed session, which we have relatively few of. So that's the technical answer.
Okay, so we have 2 nominations then.
And I think you would have fun there, and I think Jeff and the crew would enjoy you there. One year we did, I think I was Marianne's alternate, or Marianne was my alternate. And then I think I would, like 1 year, I was like, oh, I can be your alternate if you couldn't make it or whatever. So that could be, if you want to do that, like if you have to go out of town and you're like, I can't make it,
Yeah.
then you call any of us, but I can be like your alternate if you want.
Well, let's see how the board votes. and
Would
then
that
we'll
be
decide.
permitted by your
But that'd be
bylaws?
fine.
But no, I think that's good. I think that you have so many philanthropic connections that this is your last year publicly.
So,
Publicly.
Publicly,
trustee,
you just told us publicly it's your last year.
Yeah, I know. It's, but
I
I
knew-
still have a vote.
I feel like
on
I
every
knew
meeting
that.
until the end of the next year. And I intend to pay attention.
So the question was asked, can you send an alternate? We don't have a proxy or alternate system in our governance system, so there's one person appointed. Now, you can change that appointment at any time. So theoretically, the Board of Trustees could split that appointment every month, every 2 months, every 6 months. But we do have a formal governance structure, so there is one seat that has to be appointed and empowered by your board to sit.
so if Trustee Nielsen had an unavoidable conflict for one particular meeting, we could make a 1-month
You could.
appointment
You could.
and have somebody else fill in.
Yeah, no, it was just, we would show up just to keep the board abreast of whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we didn't change anything.
Yeah.
It was like the same thing.
Okay.
So like he would just email you, I can't go, and then Robert would be like, oh, who can come?
So are you declining the nomination?
No, I guess what I'm saying is any of us, he could reach out to any of us if he can't make a meeting, and Kate could go, Jonathan, anybody could go, I guess, is what I'm saying, to just get that report from the foundation and come back.
Certainly. they
But
would have
not to serve in that
Right.
seat, just to be
If there
your
were a governance
ear.
question and a vote, that
Yes.
person the alternate wouldn't have the vote, but they could certainly be a liaison.
Yes.
And we have relatively few critical
Yes.
governance moments, but when we do, that's the rules.
Yeah, so I second Craig's.
So wait a minute.
He
So-
self-nominated himself.
Yes.
There's a motion from trustee Croninger and trustee Parker for trustee Gallardo. Trustee Nielsen has made a motion, so what are we doing?
I'm asking Trustee Gallardo whether she is declining
She said
to
no.
to accept the nomination.
Yes,
Oh, you are?
yeah.
Okay, so that means we have one motion, or one nomination on the floor for Trustee Nielsen.
Yes.
I'll second that.
All right.
Okay, so now is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of Trustee Nielsen being our representative to the foundation, please vote aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the nomination passes, motion passes. I'm not sure which is the word we use, but you are now the representative to the foundation.
The old adage goes, be careful what you ask for, but it's important to be engaged and diversify what you know and what you're doing and, get a better understanding. And just because it might be my last year for now on the board doesn't mean I'm going off into oblivion somewhere.
So I think he'll be joining the foundation board and cutting you a check. So this might be a good thing, Jeff.
Welcome to the board, Trustee Nielsen.
Okay,
Thank you.
and thank you, everybody, for working through this.
Sorry about that.
Item 3.5 is appointment of representative and alternative to the County Committee on School District Organization, on which Trustee Nielsen is currently our representative.
Yeah, it doesn't, at this time, it hasn't been demanding at all. In fact, there's been nothing, really, to report, so.
So you want to keep doing nothing?
But next year, there's no guarantee that it might be more active next year.
Do we have a nomination for that position?
If she'll take it, I'll go ahead and move to have trustee Gallardo do this demanding job on the county committee on school district organization.
I mean, I've done that already. Do you want to do that?
How about you, Kate?
How about you, Marcia?
Okay, it's a hot potato.
There really is nothing to do. Is there ever something to do there in the
Yes, and
history
I'm
of
actually kind of
boards?
surprised that you haven't met.
Did
because
one time?
They've been talking about Vista, that tiny district up above that's dissolving, whether it's
Yeah.
going to Buellton, Lompoc, that discussion has been going on this past year.
Yeah,
So were you involved with that?
not really. And I didn't get any communications from them, to speak of. So I wasn't involved. Did I know about it? Yes.
Maybe they only invited the K-12 people.
I wouldn't think so. I mean,
Trustee
Oh,
Haslam.
do you want to be the
But I
alternate?
I would nominate trustee Parker.
and then I will move that to add you as the alternate, Mr. Haslund, or Dr. Haslund.
See, that's what you get for speaking up here.
I've been the alternate, and so I would be happy to have somebody else have this demanding responsibility, but I would accept it if,
So we have a motion.
yes.
Or nomination.
We have a
For
nomination.
trustee Parker to be the representative to the County Committee on School District Organization. We also have a nomination for an alternate, for that to be,
Well, the value of
Dr.
me
Haslund.
being the alternate is you don't have to change the wording here, just, you know.
so,
A little tweaking, but.
yeah,
not
so
much.
do we have any more discussion of that nomination or motion? Do we have a second?
Yes.
Trustee Croninger has seconded. So if there's no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. So that trustee Parker is now our representative and trustee Haslam is our alternate. There is no other item on the agenda. However, there has been some communication to me and to others about us needing to discuss establishment of committees such as the audit committee that interim superintendent Dr. Benjamin proposed. There's been discussion of a budget committee. There's been discussion or suggestions of a facilities committee. We're not going to make any decisions on those tonight, but it is something that we should, I think, address in the next meeting, perhaps, to consider those ideas. But I'd like, even though this is not on the agenda, I'd like to hear a quick discussion. But our
Can't do that.
parliamentarian saying, no, we can't do that?
Can't do
Can't
it.
do that.
Okay, so then, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Wasn't this
I was going
exciting?
to ask that